Hi there. I hope you're doing really well. And welcome to Ask Daniel number 32, in which we have a bunch of questions to go over. As always, nothing is medical advice, and just general thoughts and questions that I hope will help anyone that's tuning in. And any announcements? No announcements today. So with that said, actually, this is not really an announcement, but I apologies on my end because I forgot two questions here lately in the last episode. In the first one, from someone who's been super supportive of this channel, which is my namesake Daniel Dixon, who sent a message on March 27th. Hey Daniel, it's Daniel again. Just checking in. Hope you've been well. Seem to have hit a bad patch after doing pretty good for a while. Is that pretty common? Question mark. What should I do? Been having horrible anxiety lately. Could that have something to do with it? Firstly, I want to say, which I often do, the headline here, what we really should focus on is, where was it? After doing pretty good for a while. Daniel, you've been doing pretty good for a while. That is amazing. I'm super excited to hear that. And that is really what we should focus on. I say this often because typically what happens is, you implement, the kind of you learn from this channel or from a coach or from a book or whatnot, and you do better, and then you hit like a rough patch, and then it's like that rough patch gets all the attention. Like, why is this happening? What am I doing wrong? What should I be doing, etc. While in fact, we should still try to focus as much as possible on the fact that you had been doing better before that. The more we focus on the good, the better things get. Now, to answer your question, Daniel, yes, extremely common. In so many ways. You have the person that doesn't have any insomnia, that thinks of themselves as having no trouble sleeping. Well, guess what? And I can talk about myself. I myself have a night where I sleep very little, get up early, etc. So from one aspect, it is completely normal, and a lot of people have sleepless nights and don't react to them and don't think of themselves as any problem. Then you have somebody who is starting to work on their insomnia, where it's often very, very yo-yo, and in that stage it's also very normal to have up and downs. And then you have someone like yourself, Daniel, who's been doing better, and then for some reason has a patch of nights where you sleep little, also completely normal. The important thing here, which I've talked more and more about lately, is insomnia is a product of our own thoughts, our own habits, and reactions. And by the way, those habits, our actions, are produced from our thoughts. And we'll talk more about that as we explore this model that I'm working on. But anyway, for now, I'm just going to say that insomnia does not have a life of its own. It's not like you can kind of push it down the basement, like work on it, it's down there, and then, oh no, it came back again, and what am I going to do now? It's more like something happens in our lives and we start being worried, we start being preoccupied, we sleep a little, and then the key there is not to go into the direction of trying to avoid it, like trying to fight it, trying to figure out what's going on, try to do things to sleep better, etc. But just being like, okay, I'm sleeping less at this point in time, and I'm not going to do anything about it, and good sleep will return. And in your case, Daniel, of course, anxiety has something to do with it. When we're anxious, we are supposed to sleep less. If something really anxiety-provoking happened, somebody like, I lost my job today and I slept great. That is not normal. It is completely normal to sleep less when you have a patch of when you're anxious for some reason. So overall, again, Daniel, I'm super glad that you have been doing better up until now. Don't react, keep going forward, and you will get back to good sleep. All right. Thanks so much for all the support, Daniel, and sorry for this late reply. All right. So that said, there was oh yeah. The other late reply here, and this is the third late reply. But the one I want to jump to now is from Joseph, and this came in. Oh yeah. There were two emails here. This one came in 4 days ago, and Joseph said the following. Hi, Daniel. I'm writing again because I'm freaking out again. In my last email, I was worried about SFI and FFI. You reassured me about that, but I can't escape the fear that I have that disease or another deadly disease. I visited my ENT last month for swollen lymph nodes and headache. He gave me prednisone to treat possible infection and stopped having headaches. The lymph nodes have stayed the same and even got smaller. But with my sleep issues I told you about in my last email, I'm convinced I have lymphoma. Last night I tried to force myself to sleep. I know you said that's bad. And I eventually started sweating and woke up multiple times with sweat. I looked the symptoms up and bam, I think I have lymphoma. All this, and I recently started having a problem that I'm tired and I go to lay down and I'm instantly awake. I also, while trying to go to sleep, get this urge to kick my feet. I generally feel the classic symptoms of anxiety, like feelings of dread, lack of focus, heart palpitations. I'm constantly fluctuating from thinking I have one deadly disease to another. I'm getting less sleep and generally feel terrible throughout the day. It's so overwhelming and I feel hopeless, helpless. And the worst part is I can't even visit a doctor with a coronavirus outbreak. I deep down feel like this is anxiety and depression, and I don't want to waste the doctor's time. I have so many weird symptoms, and no matter how much I tell myself to stop, I look the symptoms up on Google. I really, I'm hoping you can give me some good advice. And I understand this email is all over the place, but that's where my mind is at the moment. Well, Joseph, I want to thank you for reaching out. And I know there's another email from you as well that we'll look at in a second. But as I was reading this one, again, there's no medical advice on this channel, but it seems like you identify that anxiety is really behind a lot of what's going on. And I think this email to me is much more of anxiety than there's not that much about insomnia really. And this is where I'm like, I'm going to share some things that I think are generally good for anxiety, but I'm definitely not an expert or specialist or anything like that. But I think where should we start? I think one kind of very practical way of dealing with anxiety that I learned from Nick Wignall, who has guested this podcast a few times. He's a psychologist. This is a very practical, straightforward thing to do that I believe in, which is very kind of intense journaling, which just means that you pick a time. Let's say you pick 6 p.m. every day, and you spend like a little time, not too much, like 5 to 10 minutes, and just write down on that piece of paper every single thing you worry about. And the more you can get down, the better. Just write, get everything out, right? And the thing with that is that when you're in this state of anxiety, your brain is kind of constantly bombarding with you with thoughts. It's like, do this, what about this? Like it's just this constant bombardment. If you start writing that down, you will give your brain kind of an outlet, And so let's say you do this kind of intense journaling tomorrow. Well, then nothing's going to happen tomorrow. Nothing's going to change tomorrow. But if you do it every day, like an exercise, that can give your brain this outlet and can really, really help. Now, it's, the second thing I thought was that, this seems to affect you a lot. And with the outbreak, maybe you can't physically see a doctor, but there is potentially other ways. Maybe you can connect with a therapist or a coach. I honestly, like lately, I'm really becoming a believer in life coaching. There's life coaches all over the spectrum, right? But anyone who's from this life coach school, I believe that method may be better than traditional psychotherapy for sure. I think that. But anyway, I think it sounds from this email that you may really need to talk to somebody. That was my second thought. My third thought was this one. So in this model that we're exploring, like really what we're going to see where it leads us is that our thoughts are everything, meaning our thoughts control our feelings. Feelings don't just come out of nowhere. They are produced by thoughts, and we have no direct control over our feelings, but we can work with our thoughts. And I talked about this intense journaling. That's one way. But you can also do, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about an email from Leah, which is you pick, if you can get yourself to do this, you pick thoughts like, I have lymphoma, let's say that one. And that's your current thought that leads you to become very anxious, and that leads you to Googling, you become more anxious, etc. Now, if you pick that thought and then have a goal thought, and that goal thought maybe is, I don't have lymphoma, or your goal thought is, I don't need to think about this, or something like that, then you can try to find try to bridge that, go from your current thought to your goal thought. And you can write down a list of everything you're thinking about, and then pick like, okay, I'm going to work on this thought now. And you try to get yourself to your goal thought. That's where this is going to lead us. And I'm just exploring it myself, but I'm just sharing that now, that I think that's really good. So, what else? Another one, which I think of when I read this email, is that truth finding often is not helpful. We feel like if we just knew the answer, that would make us feel better, but it doesn't lead anywhere, because there's, you think you have SFI, and then you finally think it's not that, then you find some other things. So the best thing to do often is abandon the search. So, I hope this helped, Joseph. And I know there's another question here too. Sorry, Daniel, I just thought of another quick question. I was wondering if a common symptom of anxiety or insomnia is deja vu. Before my panic attacks, I got deja vu just like other people. But after my panic attacks, I interpret them now as bad, or something bad is going to happen to me. Okay, I see. So before panic attacks, deja vu was kind of neutral, and now it's something bad. Well, again, I'm not an anxiety expert at all, but what I know for sure is that when it comes to insomnia, and I believe anxiety too, like those are both driven by what's called hyperarousal, when we're emotionally in this very alert state. And in that alert state, our perception of everything has changed. Like little things, like this little twitch feels like a big thing, pain feels stronger, everything is like amplified. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if like deja vu, the way you interpreted deja vu is different. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Let me put it that way. So Joseph, hang in there, and any sleep questions, for sure, send them here. Stay in touch. And with that said, yes, here's the third late reply. And this came in to Instagram. And by the way, I'm not good at checking my Instagram messages. My bad, but better to send me an email or a comment. But of course, I try to check my Instagram messages as well. But anyway, this is from such a weirdo who wrote on March 23rd. Hi, Daniel. I'm suffering with insomnia for 7 months already. I developed it myself after a party when mixing unknown drug with alcohol. First few weeks, I had night sweating, heart palpitation, and couldn't sleep. So far, insomnia is the only problem. I just can't sleep straight a few hours. Could I make a permanent damage to myself, or is this reversible? This is a classic question that is actually very easy to answer. And by the way, let me answer it in this way, that anyone who's tuning in here can apply the answer to anything that comes up. And the answer here is that X is not the problem, but believing or wondering if X is the problem is the problem. It's kind of a little mind twist right there, right? But let's explain it. So this is a super common question. This happened to me 7 weeks ago, or I hit my head 5 days ago, or I had a bout of vomiting 4 months ago, and that's when it all started. Did I damage myself, or did I do something to myself there that's now causing me not to sleep? The answer is no. The answer is no. You cannot damage your sleep system. You cannot damage your brain so your sleep is messed up or anything like that. So X is not the problem. X is not the reason someone has ongoing problem sleeping. But here's the thing, thinking about it, like wondering, oh gosh, it was that thing I drank 7 months ago that caused my insomnia. Why did I drink it? What was it? How can I get past it? How, believing that thing messed up your sleep, giving that attention, being preoccupied, being more worked up, being stressed, researching, etc., that causes insomnia. The only thing that can cause chronic insomnia is our own thought patterns, which then leads us to habits that are not helpful. And again, X is not the problem, but thinking about X, wondering if X is a problem, researching X, etc., that is the problem. So you can apply this kind of thing, like X is not the problem, but believing X is the problem is the problem, to anything. So I think that's a really helpful one. So such a weirdo. Hope that was helpful, and stay in touch. Thank you so much for your question, and sorry that it was a late reply. With that said, oh, Malena is here live. Hi there. I know I have a question for you, Malena, and I believe that we'll get to it in this episode. So with that said, oh yeah, that's it, right? No. Before, yeah. So we have one more question before the one from you, Malena, and that is from Leah. And let's read it. Dear Daniel, it's me again. I was thinking about your model recently and want to send you 2 pages of a book by Guy Meadows that I bought some month ago. Unfortunately, my book is translated into German, but I can translate it for you. In fact, I do have it. Oh, I'm not going to pull it up, but it's sitting right here. I have the book. It's a good one. And now, Leah's translation. The first bad model of thinking is like this. Bad sleep causes worrying about sleep, causes fighting for control about the sleep, which causes less energy for life, even more fighting, more insomnia, etc., etc. Then his proposal, the good model, bad sleep causes worrying about sleep, but make the decision not to fight for sleep. Gives you more energy to live, even less fighting in good sleep. Basically, Leah says, so basically he's saying the same thing like you. You have to stop fighting for your sleep by thinking that it's not bad to not sleep. I want to share this with you because it fits so well to your model. Yeah, 100%. It's very similar to the model I talk about in episode 302 and what I generally speak about. Absolutely. By the way, just want to sneak this one in real quick. I got a comment on that episode 302 by Martin Reed, who said, what you're presenting is basically the cognitive model. 2 psychologist friends, or actually Nick DeWinnel, he's a psychologist, and Andreas, he's a CBT therapist. They said the same thing. And I was like, wait a minute, you guys knew about this? Like, why didn't you tell me? This is dynamite stuff. I just, jokingly, but still seriously, like, we got to talk about this. Anyway, let's go on here. So theoretically, I know what I should do. I should absolutely stop thinking if you sleep bad, you could have FFI. But my problem, and I think also the problem of so many others, is how can I get my brain to think what I wanted to think? How can I get my brain to think what I wanted to think? In bold from Leah here. And we're going to get back to that one in a second. This is my great problem. I've always been the kind of person that can't just think what I want to think, what's good for me. Otherwise, I would be religious because I absolutely want to believe in God, but I can't. I always need evidence. I need to be 100% sure. If I could learn how to think what is good for me, then this would be such a great step. And I'm actually going to stop there. There's more, but it's similar in content here. So the question here from Leah is, and it's such an amazing one, how can I get my brain to think what I wanted to think? And that's where this is it. This, I believe, is it. I'm just pointing to where it says emotions here, right? But we're going to build up this model again here. And what I'm going to say is, I think this is what they in the life coach school call thought work. Thought work. It's not easy. It is work. And that's why they call it thought work. And I believe it is. Here's the thing. I've come to believe that, one can be in poor, like, physical shape, or one can be in good physical shape. If you're exercising, you're walking, you're taking care of, your body, you get into better shape. I believe it's the same thing with what we typically call mental health issues. I now think of them as mental wellness issues. Just the same thing. You can do exercise. You can exercise your mind, your brain, if you will, and get into better, manage your thoughts better, get into better shape from a kind of mental perspective, And so where am I going more practically here? Again, the thought ladder. I think the work here is writing down all the thoughts you identify as problematic. And you identify one is there, like, I think I have FFI. That is a problematic thought that you want to change. Now, how do you do that? That's the work. So you have that thought, right? And your goal thought, what you want to think is maybe, I don't have FFI, or maybe, why even bother? Like, one of those could be your goal thought. So the work for you is getting there. And how can you do that? Well, that's where I'm not an expert at all. I'm just learning myself. But one thing that I picked up on is like the neutral middle. If you can't get yourself to kind of make that a jump, then you can find a neutral. Maybe like, you could have FFI. Maybe a neutral would be like, well, I have poor sleep, but that is extremely common and no evidence for FFI. That could be kind of a more neutral one that could kind of get you to your goal thought. But you could write down other thoughts. I wrote down myself. Now, one thing you wrote here, Leah, was like, I always need evidence. That's a thought. And is that thought something to work on? Maybe can you find something that some time when you believed in something without evidence, then you can challenge that thought. I need to be 100% sure. Another thought you can challenge. My brain always seemed to work against me. That's a thought you could work on. There are many. So I think when I read this, Leah, I was like, this is exactly what this model is for. Thought work, thought work, thought work, thought work. So yeah, I hope that helped, Leah. I mean, stay in touch. And thanks so much for all the input. Thanks so much, really. And with that said, Malena, yes, here it is. Here it is. Or where is it? There, right? This is the same as there? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So here is an email from a day ago. Hey, Daniel, how are you? I'm Malena from your comment section from episode 302. Thank you for answering my question. I'm so happy I found your channel. I've been watching your videos every day since I first found the channel while searching for CBTI. I seen your video called On a Personal Note, and I totally agree. The system has failed. And thanks, by the way, for commenting on that. I haven't gotten much input on that one. And now, I didn't even know about CBTI until I did my own research. When I first went to the doctors and I mentioned my concern with sleep, CBTI was not even talked about. Yeah, that's the sad state of affairs. I have a different way of thinking ever since I found your videos. Ever since the last round of bad insomnia, I have a better perspective on sleep. I told myself I'm going to do things I enjoy, regardless of how much sleep I get. And that's the way I've been thinking. I still have sleep creeping up on my mind during the day. I welcome it, but then I focus my mind on something else I enjoy. I'm still learning. When I go to bed, I try not to have expectations. Okay, well, I'm going to lay here, and if I fall to sleep, great. If I don't, okay, that's fine. Actually, last night I was watching your videos with Martin, and I nodded off and told myself, okay, that's a cue for sleep. I took my headphones off and fell right to sleep. I'm working on the connection I have with my bed, because when my insomnia started, the going to bed, it used to bring so much anxiety. Even looking at my pillow made my heart race. Only a couple of days of learning from your videos, and I think I'm feeling better about it. Also, do you think I should try sleep restriction? Pause there. I'm going to answer that question. And overall, reading this is just, it's awesome. I read a lot of emails from people that have found my channel, etc. And there's so many things that are very encouraging here, and that when I read this type of email, I'm convinced that this person is going to do well, really, really well. So I'm convinced that you will do really well, Malena. Now, should I try sleep restriction? One thing to add, you write about sleep effort. A couple of days ago, I used to have the sleep ritual. I would drink tea, smell lavender, drink magnesium, melatonin, Benadryl, sometimes all at the same time. At times it did help, but mostly never. I still had problems falling asleep. The day I found your channel, I stopped the ritual and slept just fine. It's been a couple of days now with absolutely no sleep effort. I guess it's easier to fall asleep. This is amazing. I'm so glad reading this. I drink coffee as well. I slept just fine. On another note, Daniel, I love watching movies at night. Do you think it's okay to watch movies at night while in bed with my husband and then try to sleep? Or you think that's something that should be avoided? Do you think I should be laying in bed on my phone waiting to get sleepy, or sit up and wait till I get sleep and then lay down? I'm asking because I want to improve my connection with my bed and sleep. This is a good question, a very good question. I know exactly what to answer. Let's go back to, should I try sleep restriction? You're already doing so much better, the whole, the thing with sleep is that somebody that sleeps well is not really doing anything in particular, right? They don't think about sleep, don't worry about it, and they sleep good. That's where you want to be, and you're on that path. So I think if you feel like you're on the right path, you're on the right trajectory, you probably don't need to do anything more. Like doing more often can sabotage more than help. So reading from this, I would say, again, nothing is medical advice, and everybody has to decide for themselves. But it sounds to me as if you're probably better off just keep doing what you're doing and not add this other kind of confounder or thing that you have to monitor and think about. Now, the movies thing. I love this question. I love this question because I started off. I don't know where I started off exactly, but my belief now is you should totally binge watch Netflix or whatever it is with your husband before you go to bed, because you have to look forward to going to bed. You talk about this connection with the insomnia and the pillow and things like that. But guess what? If all day long you're like looking forward to, oh, tonight I'm going to be in bed with my husband and we're going to watch this like Hulu show and it's going to be really nice, that's perfect. I think that is super important. I encourage everyone to watch some Netflix or whatever at night. Absolutely. And phones are not a problem at all. They are not a problem. The one little thing there is, I would say, if someone wakes up in the middle of the night and feel kind of really anxious, then the phone itself is not a problem. The screen, the light is not a problem. But I think it's generally speaking it's best not to know the time, because knowing the time, you start calculating, that could be a little bit of a problem. But other than what, nothing really. And overall, I would say you're doing fantastic. So you still have like thoughts about how about this, how about that, how about that. The overall most important message is none of that matters. Just have a good day, have a good time before you go to bed, and you'll do fantastic. Yeah. All right. Pexy's here. Wow. Cool. Oh, and Malena, thanks so much for the thumbs up. Now, Pexy, which is Asiano, says 100%, 110% over fear of not sleeping. I wish I could go back 13 years and tell myself fear of not sleeping is silly because my body always makes me fall asleep again. Yeah, it is. I thought about you, Pexy, the other day. I thought about you because, what was it? Oh, yeah. It was when I was thinking about this model that we're exploring. And there's going to be like this thing here, we say thoughts, and how you have a certain thought and a goal thought. And oftentimes when you talk to people, you're almost like you say, Pexy, often like, just forget about it. There's nothing there. Just like, and some people can do that quantum leap, like just get to a place where they suddenly are like, oh yeah, that's it. I'm just going to stop worrying about this. But for most people, it is a little bit more work. But anyway, Pexy, so nice to hear from you, and thanks for all your support. And with that said, we will move on here to a question from Kylie. Yeah. Let's see. Is it 2 emails or it's just 1 email here? Yeah. Okay. Good day, sir. My name is Kylie, and I've been struggling with my sleep patterns for just over a week now, and I suspect it's a form of insomnia that I may be experiencing. I would lay down to sleep and wake up the following morning feeling as though I was awake the entire night. My brain is constantly busy, and I think that my consciousness peaked occasionally throughout the night that I've been struggling. However, when I wake up, I do not feel tired, which leads me to believe that I simply have a skewed perception of my sleeping patterns. This type of sleep disturbance has never happened to me before, and I'm slightly worried that it will worsen with time. If you have the time, could you please respond? Absolutely. Okay, Kylie, here's the thing. Whenever I see an email like this one, I've been having trouble sleeping for a week, 2 weeks. I get super excited actually, because you have not yet formed those unhelpful beliefs, unhelpful habits, thoughts about yourself, rituals, all those things that someone who has insomnia for like many months, years, or decades have. Which means that, when you work with someone that had trouble sleeping for like 5 years, 10 years, there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of unlearning. When somebody's had trouble sleeping for a week, you are in this you have this golden opportunity to just do nothing, to listen to Pexi here, who said, fear over not sleeping. I wish I could go back 13 years and tell myself, fear of not sleeping is silly because my body always makes me fall asleep again. Pexi had trouble sleeping for 13 years and finally realized, I'm going to give up this fight. I'm going to give up like trying to figure out what's going on. I'm going to just forget about the whole thing, and is now sleeping well again. But that was 13 years later. You had trouble sleeping for 1 week. I would say just don't research. Don't pay any attention to it. It's we all go through periods where we sleep very little. In your case, you have a little bit of what we call paradoxical insomnia, which just means you're sleeping more than you think, as evidenced, as you say, by you feel alert during the day. Just don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't start researching. Don't start trying things, and you'll do super well. Just go back to what you're doing 2 weeks ago, and you'll do fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kylie. I say this jokingly, but I hope not to hear from you, Kylie. I hope not to hear from you. All right. All right. So that said, let's see. We are doing good on time here. I think we can answer this one as well. A couple of them. Oh, yeah. This one is a little different. There's Benjamin, who has actually sent a voice message to Instagram. Let's try this, actually. See if I can pull this up and we can listen to it. Okay.
Hey Daniel, hope everything's good with you. I actually discovered your page today because I also saw your YouTube channel and I was looking for a couple videos, and that's how I got your Instagram, because I am mainly active on Instagram, and I'm really reaching out to you because I have the confidence that you'll be able to help me out other than other medical professionals that can help me out. So I'm 19 years old, and I've never got diagnosed with insomnia. Like you said, it's a symptom, but I think I do have insomnia. This starts way back in the summer, where, I'm always trying to remember the times in which, like, why I wasn't able to fall asleep. But as I was a younger kid, I used to be able to sleep at whatever time I want and get way more than 8 hours of sleep. Just bear with me because I'm going to send you multiple recordings so that you can really know about me. I'm an active teenager. I'm always training at least 4 to 6 times a week. And when I saw that I was really having trouble sleeping, I did get my blood work done. And it turns out that the doctor just saw my creatine kinase levels were just a little high, but he said it is normal since you are training. And not getting sleep as an active teenager really, really frustrates me. And that's just because, I want to keep on making progress. And obviously sleep is a crucial aspect to that. So obviously, due to the long-term process of me not being able to sleep, that's when there was some anxiety that came in. And, I've tried obviously over-the-counter medications like other people has, sleepies. I've tried melatonin. I'm currently on melatonin now. I've relied on CBD, which has helped me.
I don't know why this one isn't playing. Let's see the next one here.
And it is inconsistent. I do go to bed pretty late, but I'll wake up a couple times in the middle of the night. So, for example, yesterday, I would go to bed at 2 a.m., which is pretty late. Then I'd wake up at like 4 a.m., and then I'll probably wake up another couple times to pee. And then I'll wake up at like 10, but there's a lot of periods of waking up. And, I really can tell the difference between sleeping well, because I've obviously slept well in the past, and currently what I'm going through right now. I really need your help, and hopefully all this will work out and I can work with you. And there's also mental factors that play in a part. So obviously, since I'm an active teenager, I keep on wanting progressing. Let's say on a night that I don't sleep well, I then look at my body and I see, oh wow, like, I can tell I haven't slept, I'm retaining more water. Or for example, I'll look at my face and I'll see, wow, there's little bags under my eyes. But like these things are just things that do trigger me, and that's why, I want to cure this. I did see your video on based off reviewing a book of this woman that was going through insomnia in UK, effortless sleeping method, and in whatever way you'd be able to help me, I'd really appreciate it by doing any method. I'll definitely follow your guidelines, and yeah, man, like. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to getting.
Okay, I think with that kind of summed it up there, and I told Ben, of course, that I was going to play this, and he said that was okay, and I see some live comments here from Omar. I'm going to get to those in a second, Omar. Okay, so and I told Ben, by the way, that I don't do any like one-on-one coaching. I'm going to have an app up again at some point where I'll do like text-based coaching and things like that. But I told Ben that there's Martin Reed, who's really good, and Stephanie Romashevsky, who's been on the channel as well, and my good friend Michael Schwartz. All those do like phone-based counseling, so that could be something. Now, I wrote down a couple of things as we were listening to Ben's story here. What is insomnia? Insomnia is completely subjective, meaning there's no test for insomnia. There's no, like, if you look at the brain waves of somebody with insomnia, they look the same as somebody else's. Insomnia is when you perceive that I struggle with sleep. It takes a long time to fall asleep. I wake up a lot of times. I don't feel refreshed. There's something weird with my sleep. That's insomnia. So that is it. Now, before you sleep 8 hours, that's good. Okay, here's the thing. Let's do this. We're gonna go over the 3P model real quick here. Super important, and we can see how well it fits here. So 3P model, okay? P number 1, predisposing factors. I see the question, Malena. I'm gonna get to that after we talk to Ben here. Predisposing factors, right? So somebody who is a high achiever, type A, kind of like perfectionist, really driven, that increases your risk of having insomnia. If you are a kind of overthinker, overanalyzes, increases your risk. If you tend to worry, you're at higher risk. If you are health conscious, if you take your health seriously, you are more likely than others to get insomnia. These traits are not a problem. The millions of people have these traits and sleep fantastic, but having them does increase the likelihood that you will have some trouble sleeping, because they're all about like attention. You're a person who can really pay attention to something, So that's the first P, and I can tell that from Ben. We hear that health conscious, definitely that one, and maybe tends to worry also, but definitely health conscious. Now, a second thing is like a precipitating factor. That's our second P, which I didn't really hear a specific one from Ben, and sometimes there isn't. But the thing there is just like when something triggers, when something makes you anxious, it's normal not to sleep well. This precipitating event, it's normal to not sleep well after that one. But the third one, this is where it gets really important, the perpetuating factors. So guess what? You have somebody that's maybe health conscious like Ben. For some reason, they start sleeping a little. And then guess what? Then the brain identifies sleep loss as a threat. This is not bad. I have insomnia. I can do something about it. And then what happens is you start trying to kind of make yourself sleep. You try melatonin. Maybe it didn't work. I got to try something else. Try some CBD. Oh, that helped a little bit, but not. Yeah, I still have it. I got to try this other thing. You try more things. You're not solving your insomnia. You sleep maybe even worse. You try more things. You don't sleep better. Then you have what we call chronic insomnia. You've had insomnia for a very long time. So a lot of things fit there. Now, another thing that I thought about as I was listening to this was we hear from Ben how, he's an active teenager, and he expresses that sleep is so important. It wouldn't surprise me if Ben would say it's important for my studies, for my cognitive abilities, for kind of my athletic abilities, etc. And that's what we always hear, right? You have to sleep so you can do this. You have to sleep so you can do that. But guess what? That belief, that thought does not help you. It hurts you, because the more you think sleep is important, the more preoccupied, the more worried you get, the more pressure to sleep, and the less you sleep. So it is super important to find evidence that sleep is not that important, to de-emphasize the importance of sleep, to find evidence. And the way you do that is, let's say you think back and you find that one time where you were like, that time I didn't sleep well at all, but guess what? I did fine during the day. Or that time I slept pretty good and I felt terrible during the day. That's evidence that sleep is just one of many things that affects our performance, etc. And the less you think of sleep as important, the better you will sleep. That was another one. And if I just go over one more, going to bed at 2 a.m., right? Waking up like at 4, many other times, getting out of bed at 10. So it sounds like Ben is spending at this, this is just one night, but about 8 hours in bed. And in the past slept 8 hours. Well, here's the thing. When someone starts having trouble sleeping, in my opinion, almost everyone, it is helpful. I just told somebody else, it was that Malena, that in her case, probably shouldn't do the sleep restriction, or bedtime restriction. But for most people, it helps to spend a little less time in bed. Go to bed later. You're more sleepy. You sleep better. Go to bed a little later is a step away from trying to sleep, pursuing sleep. It's an important psychological step. And then once you start seeing that, I sleep better, I get a better quality sleep, I feel better, then you're really on the right path. So Ben, hope that helped. And if you feel you need like one-on-one coaching, then reach out to, again, Martin Reed or Stephanie or Michael. So that said, I think we'll probably just go over these live questions before we finish off here today. First, we have Omar Chowdhury. Hello. Been doing sleep restriction therapy for about 6 weeks now. Went from sleeping 4 hours per night to around 6.5 hours, but now feeling more fatigued. Is it possible that my hyperarousal is fading? Love this. I love this. Just that my summer started 3 months ago, and more so was sleep maintenance related. Okay. I bet, Omar, you must have been listening to my channel, or you heard this elsewhere. If you're tuning in here, let me know if you heard it on my channel or elsewhere. But that's exactly what I believe. Firstly, Omar, I'm gonna say that's amazing. You did the work, you're seeing results, and you're sharing it. That's awesome. Here, Omar says, I think Martin Reed touched on it. Exactly. That's so cool. All right, so I often talk about these 3 steps. In fact, it's funny. I'm writing this book. It's gonna be called Set It and Forget It. But I just wrote today about these, like the three big steps. And oftentimes I feel this happens. Somebody starts spending less time in bed, doing the work, etc. And then a few weeks into therapy says I'm less worried now, but I'm not sleeping better. And kind of presents that as kind of a little problem. When I hear that, I'm like, I'm super excited. When you start worrying less, your hyperarousal is about to come down. You haven't yet started sleeping better, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then that happens. And then you have the next step, which is somebody exactly like Omar says here. I'm sleeping more, but I'm so tired. And I totally believe what happens then is that hyperarousal, that high alert state that you were in, that masks fatigue. Imagine if you're running, like you're out jogging and running or whatever, you don't feel how tired you are because your blood is pumping, like you're super active. And then you stop and then you're like, wow, I'm really tired. Same thing. When that hyperarousal comes down, it unmasks fatigue. And if you're sleeping more, which is for the same reason, your hyperarousal is going down. So you're sleeping more and better, but you're actually feeling your fatigue now. So the last step is like, now I'm sleeping great and I'm less fatigued. It takes a while, but that is very common. That's cool. You had already thought about that, Omar. All right. Malena said, Daniel, is it true that the older you get, the less sleep you need? Actually, before we talk about, Omar says here live, thank you. So should I stay the course and keep my sleep window, keep extending it? That's a good question. Okay. I want to say okay. generally, like a tip that is always good is stay the course. You know, I believe you could just stay the course until it becomes obvious to you what to do. Like if you just stay the course and you're just like still sleeping about 6.5 hours, and by the way, you want to get to a point where you don't even know how much you sleep. That's another great goal to have. But let's say you're sleeping like you're now 6.5 hours and you start feeling less and less fatigued. If you just kind of stay the course, at some point you'll be like, I don't think I need to do this anymore. I don't think I need to worry. And it will kind of self-resolve, right? That's a good one. If someone is like kind of more asking for like, I want to have something more specific here. How should I do this? Like I'm sleeping most of the night. What should I do? I think a great way to kind of ease out of having this sleep window. And by the way, for those of you who doesn't know what that is, sleep window is like kind of a time period during which you kind of compress your sleep. And in Omar's case, it sounds like that's maybe 6.5 hours. A great way is to do is like open up the sleep window on one side, meaning you still get out of bed at, let's say, 6, but instead of not going to bed before 11:30, you say, I'm just going to stop checking the time at 10 and do what I feel like, but I'm still going to get up early, right? That's, I think, a great way of like easing out of the sleep window. So hope that makes sense, Omar. Hope that makes sense. And great work again. Now, back to Malena. She's asking, is it true that the older you get, the less sleep you need? I was thinking maybe my insomnia started because I just need less sleep, and staying in bed trying to get 8 hours was what started it. Okay. I believe that it is true that we need a little less sleep when we get older, but it's really marginal. Maybe if you typically slept, 7 hours when you were 20, and then now you're, 82, maybe you need like, 6 hours and 20 minutes, like it's not dramatic. And I would say it's, in my opinion, it's very unlikely that someone's insomnia was triggered by aging. That's one thing, so that's one thing. But that said, again, I think the fact that somebody is aging is unlikely to be kind of the reason insomnia it was triggered or keeps going. But that said, aiming for 8 hours, that's a very common reason for trouble sleeping. Very common reason. That could definitely be a problem. Certainly, I think it's never good to aim for a number. It's always good to aim for not being worried, feeling good during the day. Now, again, based on your email, and I would say if someone like yourself, if you're getting better, you're trending in the right direction, and you happen to go to bed usually around 10 with your husband, watch some Netflix, and you get up at 6, that's 8 hours. I don't think that's a problem at all. But yeah, I hope that helped. So yeah, we'll conclude there. Thanks for all the live questions, Pexi, Malena, and Omar, and everybody else. And I have more. I know we did not get to talk about Tuan's question and Aaron's question. So maybe tomorrow, if not Monday. Yeah. So we'll end there. And thanks everyone again, and hope to have you back soon. Bye-bye now.